When I tell you, I struggled to find this. So many of you asked me to find Jennifer Aniston's What I Eat in a Day because there's this viral thing about her only having one M&M, and it took me an age to find it. But I did find an article from 2022 where she references something like this. Let's talk about it. Jennifer Aniston's Diet Secrets, the basic and healthy food she eats in a day to stay so fit. I already really don't like the title. Calling this Jennifer Aniston's Diet Secrets implies that there's something that Jennifer Aniston's doing that we don't know about, that we need to read this article to find out about, and that way we're going to potentially look like Jennifer Aniston. No, that isn't how this works. I'm going to preface this by saying that even if we all ate like Jennifer Aniston, we'd still all look very different because there's this wonderful thing called body diversity. Okay? Breathe, Laura. When I wake up, I have warm lemon water, and then I have a shake or avocado and eggs, which is one of my favorites. Who was the other person that had lemon water? Julianne Hough. Julianne Hough talked about having lemon water to like flush the body out. Now, Jennifer Aniston hasn't said that, but I'm going to assume that she's got some narrative going that that's why she has the lemon water, unless she just likes the taste of it, which is totally cool. But warm lemon water isn't going to flush the system in the morning. The things that do that are your liver and your kidneys. We already know that. Sometimes I have puffed millet cereal with a banana, or I'll do oatmeal with an egg white whipped in at the end. So we're seeing all three macronutrients in her breakfast. Love to see it. Ex-husband Justin Through showed Jen how to get some extra protein in her diet via eggs. He taught me a little move to get extra protein right before oatmeal is finished cooking. You can whip an egg white into it and it gives this fluffy texture that's delicious. I've heard people do that. I've personally never done that, but I have heard that people like to add egg whites into their oatmeal. Jennifer's lunch and dinners are something she described to Elle as basic. Generally speaking, when I see celebrities talk about like having basic meals or being basic, in actuality it's anything but basic, and it's more often than not still riddled with privilege. Sorry, not sorry. They consist of some form of vegetable or salad with protein, pretty basic, and that her dinner is probably the same. Actually, as much as she's pared down the fact that she's having vegetables or salad with protein, that's still pretty privileged to have access to fresh produce and fresh protein in that regard. Even her snacks are healthy, as in between meals she'll reach for a healthy carb, maybe an apple and almond butter or an apple and some nuts. This magazine, Life and Style magazine, I don't love that they've referred to it as like a healthy carb. You could have just called it a carb. You didn't have to do the healthy, unhealthy labeling, which I've talked about before. I'm not a big fan of labeling things as healthy or unhealthy, which is why I use quotation marks a lot. Because what is healthy for one person isn't necessarily going to be healthy for another. If you rewind 10 to 15 years, I might have been consuming what society called healthy food, but in actuality, the reason I was consuming that food was because I was scared of foods that society calls unhealthy. And what would have actually been healthier for me would be to have the kinds of snacks that you see demonized in society. So I don't love when we see this black and white labeling of healthy and unhealthy foods. There's a bit more to it than that. The Living Proof founder, Jennifer Aniston, is the founder of the hair company Living Proof. Did I not know this? I am behind. 2016, Jennifer Aniston is no longer a hair care mogul. Who knew? Well, apparently a lot of people, Laura, just you did not. The Living Proof founder is so disciplined, don't love the word discipline, with her eating habits that she can open a bag of chips and literally eat just one and be satisfied. Jen revealed her extreme moderation in September 2021 issue of InStyle magazine, where she explained, usually I'm good at that. I can have one M&M, one chip. I know that's so annoying. What's annoying, in my opinion, is how we label that. As a society, we kind of praise this mentality around food, and I don't love that. It's less about Jen's activity. She can do what she wants to do, what makes her happy, what makes her feel satiated. You do you, Jen. This reminds me when I worked in an office. I used to work in TV production. And when I worked in TV, as it is in offices, there's a birthday, there's a celebration, there's I don't know, somebody gives birth, there's something, right? And so there might be donuts or cakes or office food around. And I never, ever touched it. That's because I was in the eye of the storm of problems with food. But subsequently, what happened, because I never touched this food, I was praised left, right, and center. Laura, you're so disciplined. Laura, you're so good. Laura, how do you not indulge in these foods? And it was really hammered home that my so-called discipline was an incredibly good and admirable thing. And I'm using quotation marks because it absolutely was not. What these people were inadvertently doing was praising an ED. And I'm not saying that that's what's happening with Jen. We need to be really cautious about putting this type of discipline around food on a pedestal. Because what this praise did was reinforce this idea that I should keep doing what I was doing. And that became my identity. I became what friends, family, colleagues, etc. referred to as the healthy one, when in actuality, I was anything but. When we reinforce this kind of behavior around food, we can more often than not be doing a lot of damage. Jen is also very conscious of not having sugary drinks when it comes to cocktails. Her favorite alcoholic drink is a margarita. Clean, no sugar. Just because Jen's margarita doesn't have sugar in it doesn't make it clean. And so we are seeing Jen give some kind of morality around food, that there is such thing as clean food or dirty food. Like I said, absolute codswallop or dirty martini. Oh, there you go. There's a dirty drink. When someone asks, would you like a cranberry, coconut, cucumber spiced or hibiscus, whatever? No, I would not. Jen, if you have never had a spicy margarita, you've not lived. The actress has a very clear vision of her diet. She explained to Yahoo Food in 2016, I don't let eating habits get out of control where I need a reset button. My general philosophy is to eat healthy. It's pretty clear. Eat as much organic fruit and veggies as you can. Keep sugar intake low. Drink tons and tons of water and get good sleep. It's very privileged, and it kind of implies that if you don't eat this way, then you're eating out of control. And that's fine. If that's how you want to eat, that's cool. Do you, Jen? But again, with these what I eat in a days, what they can do is imply that if you aren't eating like this, then you are out of control, or you're not eating clean, or it's not Jennifer Aniston approved. That's what happens when we have these celebrities that we put on a pedestal tell us about what they eat in a day. Because as a society, we do praise thinness. We do praise this so-called discipline. So when we read or watch what I eat in a days touted by certain celebrities, it can make us feel a little bit shit because we don't eat like this and it isn't approved by somebody that we've put on a pedestal. It feels quite unrelatable. I don't find this relatable. I don't just have one M&M or one chip. As for her refrigerator staples, Jen said she always has cut raw veggies in a Tupperware container. Hard-boiled eggs are always great to have in the fridge, as well as a big head of butter lettuce. I also include protein such as pulled chicken. To be fair, I do love having hard-boiled eggs in the fridge, I'm not gonna lie. But I also have in my fridge chocolate truffles, leftover pizza, banana bread. Whilst there's nothing wrong with having veggies in a Tupperware, hard-boiled eggs, etc., that's the only thing you've got in your fridge. Again, that feels a little unrelatable. While Jennifer still allows herself a cheat day every now and again, honestly, can we do a petition to stop the term cheat day? She mainly keeps bad carbs out of her diet. I allow myself to indulge once in a while. I'm good at keeping my starches to a minimum. I don't like white foods. You're having hard-boiled eggs, Jen. Eggs literally have a part of them called an egg white. So you can't say you don't like white foods because you're having eggs and chicken. And I'll always cut back on some breads if I'm trying to slim down for something special. You know what? The idea of cutting out bread, I talked about this before in The Rock's What I Eat in a Day. The whole cutting out of bread is actually really normalized in society. To be honest, that's how I specifically started my first diet when I was a very young age, was cutting out bread because it was normalized, because I saw people doing it around me. I thought this is what I was meant to do. When in actuality, bread, like any other food, can be allowed in and doesn't need to be cut back or cut out. In fact, I will regularly have days where bread shows up at breakfast, lunch and dinner, and I have no shame about that. Bread for life. Good news is that we saw Jen having breakfast, lunch and dinner. She incorporated carbs, fat, protein, and she did talk about having chips and M&Ms, even if it's just one, singular. What I didn't love around this is that there was some level of morality around food, so calling foods clean, mentioning cheat meals, cutting out bread, demonizing white foods despite the fact that she consumed white foods and had it in her fridge. And what more so doesn't sit right with me is how the magazine were praising Jen's so-called discipline around food. And that may not be a restriction for Jen, and this might work for Jen, and that's cool. But like I said, speaking personally, when I was what society would call disciplined, I was actually just being very restrictive and unhealthy around food.